Hello and welcome everyone to the Empowerment Empire Show. My name is Lisa and I am your host for the show. Now, the Empowerment Empire Show is all about empowering people to create positive change in their life and in their business. So I am on a mission to serve thousands of women around the globe who are ready to shine and step into their greatness. And on today's show, we have an incredible woman who is going to share her knowledge with us and her experience as well. And she's going to be talking to us a little bit about the mind, the body, and the spirit blocks to empowerment, in particular for women entrepreneurs, for female entrepreneurs. So on the show today, I am delighted to introduce Dr. Kate Dow, who lives in New Mexico. And Kate is all about, she is an empowerment coach for entrepreneurial women. So if this is something that you are interested in learning more about, or certainly finding out about the typical blocks or experiences, challenges that the entrepreneurial women face in this era, if you like, then Kate is definitely going to be able to help you with that. So welcome to the show, Kate.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, we are delighted, absolutely delighted to have you on. And I'm really looking forward to you sharing your wisdom with the world.
Thank you.
But before we crack on and you share this wisdom, why don't you tell us a little bit just about you, you as a person, your background, where you grew up, family, etc., anything at all that will give the listeners a little idea of who Kate really is.
Okay, sure. Well, so I grew up in Los Angeles, actually, which, many people think is like a great place to grow up. But for me, it was highly overwhelming. I was a very sensitive child and very empathic, and that made it very difficult to deal with a lot of the, just pressures and tensions that I could see everybody around me going through. And so that brought in a level of feeling overwhelmed and anxiety pretty early on, just because I wasn't clear on how to navigate all of that. And so I think early on, I kind of became a very good listener and helper for people. I was sort of a natural born counselor, you could say. And so I just sort of followed that path through my schooling and found it was a really good fit. I am very able to tune in with people and kind of help them touch into things that are even difficult and hard for them to notice and be willing to see. And I've been doing the counseling work for like 30 years, and all the while working on my own personal growth, because I went through different experiences, like when I had my children, or when I was going through divorce. I had some major health issues a few years ago. All these life experiences that were always bringing me back to that place as a human being, that we can get very fearful and frightened and kind of lose our footing, our ground. And that for me, it was always the opportunity to build my mind, body, spirit connection even more. How could I feel more connected in myself? How could I feel more connected with Great Spirit or God, Goddess, whatever that is for people? And so it was sort of a never-ending process for me. And even now, as I'm leaping from having a counseling practice for many, many years into the world today of building a whole new business with my coaching, is, another place that we always get to be able to work with our fears, because of course, as a female entrepreneur, we're facing those fears in many different levels. So my personal work is what I think has driven me, and my love for supporting women, especially in feeling more empowered and feeling capable to move past their fears.
Wow, fantastic. So this absolutely is your passion.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously you've got a tremendous amount of experience in this field. Kate, what would you say is the major blocks for entrepreneurial women kind of, to feel empowerment or to be or become empowered? What blocks these women facing?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones, Lisa, is that the model of business in our world is very masculine and very unhealthy. And so as women, we can be pulled into that idea that we need to compete in that same way and become overworked and struggling and kind of in that model of trying to make things happen. And we lose connection with all of the resources as a woman that we have that most of us probably haven't even been able to really develop. I know I hadn't. I had to like relearn and reconnect with my feminine, my feminine side, my feminine qualities of really trusting my intuition, of being able to open my receptivity and live acknowledging my fear, but not letting my fear take me over, which allows me to be more creative and spontaneous and in the moment. So I think that that's one of the largest things, is that we've lived in a patriarchy. And so that structure feels like the only one we have, when really we're at a time right now to recreate a new way of being, I think, in business and as women. And we need to trust that. We need to find our own way that we're going to do it, that's healthy, that's empowering, and helping people without losing ourselves and our health and balance.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned there about reconnecting with ourselves, or who we really are. How can women that's listening into this podcast, how can they reconnect or perhaps realign with who they really are, and to allow them to become empowered if they feel that they're getting lost in this world of competing, becoming overworked, trying to make things happen all the time? How can they actually bring that back? Have you got any top tips that you could say that maybe perhaps women could try to reconnect?
Yeah. Well, so a lot of my work that I speak to is how being more connected in our bodies, whether we're working on things mentally or spiritually, always bringing things back to experiencing in our bodies is one of the main ways, I think, that helps us as women be able to integrate and process and come from a more grounded place. What I'm working with a lot these days is helping women connect with what I call their goddess rising, which is recognizing one of the faces of the divine mother goddess that can be really supportive for us, that kind of speaks to the strengths that we have, but also supports the places that we are really struggling. And that archetypal universal energy of the goddess in a specific form can really help us move forward with more ease. That's what I'm really exploring and having fun with.
Wow, that's I love that. The goddess rising. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It really is. Just the name or that title, the goddess rising. All of a sudden, you can feel, actually, when you said those words, I actually felt myself becoming more empowered. I actually felt a change in my body, and I know that that's what you were talking about.
Right.
Experiencing it in your body, and I think even those words themselves can allow you to experience, oh, wow, feel it within yourself. So it speaks to your strengths, as you said. So love that. Excellent. So what other common mistakes would you say that women are experiencing when it does come to overcoming these blocks that they have?
Well, I think, certainly in myself, I can see that place where we do get caught in trying to make things happen. And that's that masculine overdrive,
Mhm.
like push through. And I think that that's a real mistake that as powerful women, we can often make.
Mhm.
And what my experience is with that again and again is that it's very draining, and it doesn't serve us, and it certainly doesn't solve whatever the conflict is. So that's that part of, let's just push through it, is definitely a big mistake. And the other ways we can do that is by just wanting to ignore the challenge, and sort of again try and override it. And part of that, again, I think, is this feeling that if we should know how to handle everything, when really I think the entrepreneurial path is very spiritual and very much about taking us into the unknown and
Mhm.
taking us to places in ourselves that are needing attention. And that can be kind of a little, uncomfortable. And so I think the common mistake as human beings is that we avoid those places of discomfort rather than knowing that's a place that we can actually become more empowered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're right, and I've been guilty of that before, and I think that many people are. So, and I know that there'll be women listening to this today, listening to this podcast, who feel the exact same way. So
Yeah.
it's a place of that fear of the unknown, but and kind of wondering or thinking, do I want to go there? Because are also trying to just say to yourself, I'm just going to push through. If you've got that masculine energy coming through, I'm pushing through, I'm pushing through, I'm pushing through. I just need to keep taking action. I just need to keep being consistent. I just need to keep doing X, Y, and Z, and I'll get there in the end. But as you're saying, what's happening is it's not actually doing us any favors.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where, I feel like, we, as all of us women, we have a very important time and opportunity to grow right now. And we just need to keep remembering we aren't here to be more, uh, more masculine. We're here to bring forward and really connect more deeply with the feminine, because as a world culture, it's really what everyone is needing. Men, women, corporations, like every level of life right now, I feel like really is going to benefit, including the planet, from more of this feminine awareness and feminine skill set,
Yeah.
right? Which is more about our intuition and our receptivity to be at ease and flow more with whatever's happening, right? Whether it's we're feeling uncomfortable or we're hitting a block, and trust that we have the ability to get through that and come out stronger on the other side.
Yeah, so definitely not ignoring those fears. We should not be ignoring them. We should be acknowledging the
Yes.
fears. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And moving forward with them, learning from that feeling or that emotion or that experience, and just trusting that we are going to move forward without getting ourselves into a state of panic. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which is tricky, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it is. I think the more that we try and push through, the more panicky we can get. So
Yes.
it is, yeah, it's like, it's counterintuitive to say, no, let it flow and be present with it, because that way you're going to experience what you need to experience, and that's going to fulfill you and make you more connected to yourself and to your skills and your gifts.
Yeah. So, and I know that again, through just working alongside entrepreneurial women as well, that that feeling of anxiousness, if you like, or anxiety, that they're not moving forward as quickly as they want to be. And I think that again, what they're doing is perhaps comparing themselves, or trying to compete with this masculine energy, but actually within them, this is that perhaps why they're experiencing anxiety? So something's telling them they've got a masculine energy pulling them in one direction, but also their feminine energy pulling them in another. How would you explain that?
Well, I think, when we're having anxiety, it can reflect a lot of different things. It can, on a mental level, it can show us that we're having some limiting beliefs that are running us, that are getting in the way, and that's really calling attention to that. It can show up more at an emotional level, that we have old, wounds, we could say, emotionally, that we really are asking for our attention. They need to kind of get cleared out of the way. And then spiritually too, I think when we feel more disconnected spiritually in ourselves, or in a sense of life force, that can create anxiety.
Yeah.
And so there's all kinds of ways, but whatever the source is, the anxiety is a messenger, right? It's a messenger saying, I'm not feeling okay, and it's time to stop and pay attention and get support to really see what's going on.
Yeah. So what would you say then, or what kind of top tips or major top tips would you say that you could share with women, again, listening to the podcast, who are experiencing or currently going through this entrepreneurial journey? It's a bit like a roller coaster, ups and downs of being a female entrepreneur, or just being a woman in general, I think.
Right.
We have these emotional roller coasters, but what could you say that would perhaps help women, or what is it that you do, or top tips that you could share with them that could help them to move forward if they were to try and implement something today to help them to move forward in the right direction?
So, Lisa, I would say that, trying to take some time where you're not focusing on taking care of other people, and you're not working on your work, and you're taking me time to go sit and be present and really go within and just listen and be, observe. How is your body feeling? How are you feeling emotionally? If you're feeling some stress, cry and let it out. If you're feeling some tension or a need to go do some self-care in some way, give yourself permission for that. Part of us learning to stop the behaviors that aren't helping us is just taking space and pausing and saying, even though my mind's telling me I can't rest, I need to get busy, I have things to do, we say, no, I can stop and be present, because if I can't be here in myself, I can take the next 6 hours and work really hard, but I'm probably not going to get much done, because I'm not fully here. I'm not fully in my well-being and my center. So we really it's just permission. That's what empowerment means. It's permission to be present. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, fantastic. And I totally agree with that. And looking back years ago, when I was kind of started, if you like, one of my first businesses, I got myself caught up in that trap. Now, at the time, when I look back, I can see that, but at the time when I was in that situation, I actually believed that I never had any time for myself. I honestly believed that I couldn't take time off my work, that I was far too busy, that my work was getting this work done and completed was more important than me going for a nice bath and listening to music and relaxing. That it was more important than me taking half an hour to do some meditation, or taking 10 minutes on spending and creating my gratitude journal or affirmations or whatever it may be. I felt that I was so caught up in this race of business, of life, that I never had any time for myself. And in fact, what did happen was exactly what you've been talking about throughout this full podcast, is I ultimately got to the point where physically and mentally, my body, my mind, my spirit, my heart, everything gave up on me.
Yeah.
So I know, so I totally get everything that you're saying. And I think that it's a really important message to still share with people, even when they feel that they don't have the time. That's probably when they need to make the time.
Right. Exactly. And that's the hardest part, is that, we've been so brainwashed into thinking it looks one way. And yet, even when we see that it's hurting our health, our well-being, our family, our relationships, it's not moving things forward in our business, we still hunker down and keep pushing. And it's part of, I think, just the mindset that's so prevalent. And it's time to change it.
Yeah. And I felt an overwhelming sense of guilt, Kate, when I used to take time for myself. I felt guilty.
Right.
And
right.
Have you got any tips for women who perhaps are experiencing that feeling of guilt about taking some time for themselves?
Yeah, that guilt thing, I think, comes because, we're the moms and we're the wives and we're the caregivers. And so, it's a big deal to take a step and say, I'm going to create my own business. But then it just becomes this one other thing that we're giving all of ourselves to. So to take time for us seems like it's going to take away from all of these things that we love. But in reality, when we take time, we're filling our cup, and we can't be that amazing mom and wife and entrepreneur if we don't fill our own cup. So the guilt is really just it's like an illusion that we just have to pop like a balloon and say, that's a silly story. Like, that is so not true. Really, if I don't take care of me, then there is no business, and these relationships aren't going to be these beautiful, fulfilling things. So it's a perspective that we just have to be willing to challenge and like kind of pop.
Yes, I love that. So filling the cup, that's a good visual example, isn't it? Because if you're looking at that cup, and everybody's heard the phrase, is your cup half full, is it half empty, etc. So probably that's something visual that people could pretend that they're looking at, if they're looking at a cup and they're thinking, oh, do I need to top that cup up and just take some time for myself? And it's true what you were saying. When you take that time, it helps so much, because you're coming at, then when you approach your business again, you're coming at it from a much more positive, empowered state of mind.
Totally.
So you're able to take on a lot more than what you probably were able to take on when you weren't taking that time for yourself.
Right. I mean, it's that whole concept of, the long work day versus taking time to do things that really care for you and that you love to do, and how much that feeds you. So then you get the same work done in 3 hours that might have taken you
3 days,
6 hours, maybe 2 days, and it's still not as good a quality because you aren't in your higher vibration of yourself.
Absolutely. So I know that there's going to be a lot of women listening into the podcast today that would love the opportunity of reaching out to you, working with you, finding out a bit more about what you do. So how can they go about that?
Oh, well, the easiest way is to email me, and that's at Kate Dow, PhD at gmail.com. So it's KATED, like dog, OW, PhD at Gmail. And plus, I'd really love to offer your listeners, Lisa, a free copy of my book, if that's okay. Yeah. So if you email me and you want a copy, just please let me know. And that way I can shoot you a copy in my, through the email right now.
Yes, that would be amazing. I'll definitely be emailing you to get a copy of your book without a doubt. Absolutely. And I know that there'll be lots of other amazing ladies looking for a copy of that as well. So you work with female entrepreneurs online then? Is it coaching programs that you do, Kate?
Yeah, right now what I offer is it's a coaching program that's online, and it is basically focused on the program that's in the book with a few modifications. And it's working with you individually, it's working with you in a group and with the content. And so my program has really been powerful and effective and helpful. It's sort of like the culmination of 30 years of work all into this program. So I would love to share that. And if you're interested, when you email me, let me know. We'll jump on a call and I'll talk with you.
Wow, fantastic. Lucky ladies, lucky ladies. Oh, wonder. Has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. And I've actually taken quite a few notes. I've been writing some notes down as I've been chatting as well. So thank you so much for your time. And
thank you.
Is there anything else that you would like to add in before we finish off?
Just that I so appreciate being able to come on and talk with you, Lisa. And I feel like if as women we worry that we're being selfish to focus on our own path, I think it's really important to remember, I think we're actually part of what's going to help save the planet, by really stepping into our power and our voices and being who we really are. It's time, and the world needs us.
The world does need us, and I truly believe that us women are the movers and shakers of
definitely
this entrepreneurial era that we are in. I totally believe that. So we're fearless females building our empires.
Yes. Yes, we are.
Oh, thank you so much, Kate. And if you're listening into the podcast, feel free to drop Kate a message, get in touch with her, reach out. She'll send you a free copy of her book. You can book in for, a consultation call with Kate as well to find out a little bit more about what she does and if she can help you moving forward in your journey as well. And if you've enjoyed the podcast, then remember to drop your review as well. I'm going to pop Kate's details in the show notes with some links to our website, our email, our contact details, etc., so that you can reach out to her. And thanks again, Kate, and thank you so much to everyone for listening in to the show today. Have a great day. Bye-bye.